What's up, everyone? It's Matt Mrozik, and I want to do a video of the last piece I just finished. This is Wolverine from ZEZ Studios, 3D printed by Von Norden. I tried to do some live broadcasts yesterday, finishing up, but my internet was not working in the house, so I just gave up and didn't show anything. But I got this guy finished yesterday, and he looks phenomenal. I really love how he turned out. Next to the Samurai Wolverine, this is my second favorite Wolverine I've done so far. Just the details are really cool. Took a couple days longer than anticipated. I thought the paint would take 4 days. It actually took like 6 days, just because there's a ton of really great details. It's got 4 heads, 3 helmets, arm switch outs, and he has a wolf companion. So let's go over this and see what we have. So as you can see, he's in his soldier form. I have his bone claws in right now because a lot of people were commenting that during the war he didn't have his adamantium. I'm just gonna say metal claws. I forget what kind of metals, but he didn't have his metal claws yet. So I've got the bone claws in right now. I'll show you the metal claws here in a minute. But yesterday was the really fun part of the build, where I get to go in and just be really kind of free flowing, dirty things up, add the blood. It's a very kind of loose, creative process. Excuse me. So again, the great sculpt. As far as the prep work, it took me about 2 days to prep everything, and as I was building and painting, I'd find little things that I missed, support marks and stuff. So I'd clean those up as I went. But for the most part, the prep was 2 days. I filled the base up to about here with resin. The legs up to the waist are filled with resin. Then there's metal rods in the ankles to give support. There's no metal rod here, but because the feet are solid, and the legs have been poured with resin to fill those up. Bond printed the arms. The heads he always prints the heads solid. The helmets are solid. The arms are solid. The arms are hollow. The feet are printed solid. All the pouches were printed solid. The ammo cans were printed solid. So he prints a lot of things solid, which really is really great. And they turned out really nice. But this guy looks fantastic. Skin tones look really great. The hair is done very, very lightly, so you probably won't be able to see it in photos or in the video, but I don't want it to look like he's wearing a fur coat, so I do it's sculpted in there, so I do a very light dry brushing just to give the sense of hair, because when you start going in there and painting it in and stuff, it's out of scale, so it doesn't look right. So I always do hair very, very lightly. We added the snow effects. Initially, I thought he was like going to be like in a jungle scene, wet and mossy jungle scene. But then as I started to paint the base, I realized it was snow that was sculpted in. And so I went back and forth with my client. It's like, well, we could do moss. Like, well, we could do that, but there's already a lot of green and everything. So we went ahead and did the snow effects. I kept it fairly light, mostly on the sculpted areas. A light dusting on top of the cans, the ammo cans, a little bit accumulation in the ferns, and just a tiny bit on his feet and a little bit on his back leg here. So like he just kind of stepped in the snow. So fairly light. I kept the tree pretty neutral. The tones are just kind of some browns and dark browns. A little bit of gray dry brushing here and there, but that's pretty simple. The most fun part was actually doing the t-shirt. I'll come in close to the wife beater shirt yesterday, because I put a ton of like sweat stains and dirt and grime. It just looks like he's been in the jungle and sweating his ass off, which is appropriate. The pouches were a lot of fun, a lot of great details. Again, I'll come in closer. Buckles, a lot of weathering, dry brushing, oil washes to bring in all the details. And then I've got my favorite. I think this is how my client's gonna have it displayed, with this head on right here. Which is my favorite head. So coming a little bit tighter. Just pan up a little bit to look at the head. We'll do the switch outs. So I did the blue eyes. Here he's got a cigar in, and I did some graffiti on the helmets. Kept it pretty light. So my client had a couple requests. The first one was to put the 181st as a reference to his first appearance. I think in Hulk. And then as I spin it around, I'll just show you. I'll just take the head off. I'll show you here. So we got 181st. I put a little peace sign on the top. Alberta for reference to where he's from. And then I painted the X-Men logo black and red and did some weathering on that, so it was looking worn down. And then Born to Kill / Die. But you can see the great. Oh, I did these helmets exactly the same for the most part. It's got a lighter in there. It's got a couple M16 rounds in there. Just kept it nice and dirty, and I love the way the portraits turned out. I did a nice dark 5 o'clock shadow, which I usually do him a little bit lighter, but I wanted him really gritty looking. So I just kind of went a little more contrasty than normally when the faces, but I think it looks great. And he's got a necklace with his dog tag that says Logan on it and a serial number that comes out. And what I like they did about the sculpt, there's actually holes in the neck where that plugs in. You can see the blood there on the claws. You can see all the sweat and stuff I did on the bandages. I made those just really dirty and grimy. I wanted these wounds to look like they soaked through the bandages a little bit. And then if I turn this, you can see how sweaty and dirty he is. Let's see. Again, my camera works not the greatest, but I'm going to come up and point down because I really like this shirt. I just love how dirty and grimy he looks. But I put all the sweat marks under the armpits. There's like sweat marks dripping down. In front of his chest, there's sweat dripping down. Yeah, so I just really dirtied the shirt up. I did some weathering and dirt on the pants to bring that out. And if I come down, look at the base, a little bit of snow on the ammo belt. These cans were a lot of fun to do, the ammo cans. So what took the most time in painting was all the detail painting on the cans, like all the lettering. It's got lettering on the cans. And then the pouches took a long time. It doesn't look like it, but there's about 10 different steps of painting, dry brushing, weathering, oil washes, just to bring out the details and stuff. So I wanted to bring out the stitching on those, so that took a while. Doing the foreheads took a while. When there's multiple heads, it takes a long time. So let's switch out some of the heads. So we got this guy, and if we take him off, I glued the helmets on because again, I painted the helmets virtually the same. The other helmet did, so the face sculpts, there's basically two face sculpts. And there's one version with a helmet and one version without a helmet. So here's the other helmeted version where he's just gritting his teeth. And again, the necklace just plugs in. It's really kind of handy. And I added magnets for the neck. Initially I wasn't going to, but the way he's leaning forward. So there's that guy. I went and dirtied up his teeth a little bit. Someone made a comment his teeth were too white, so I went and did a brown yellow wash on top of the teeth just to tone them down a little bit. I think that was a good call out by someone on one of my photos on Facebook. So there's that guy. And then if we take this off, we have this guy. And then again, the necklace just kind of snaps in. And I like the necklace because it actually gives a sense of motion, like he's lunging forward, and the way it kind of sweeps to the side that little bit. And there's also a strap down here that gives a sense of motion. So anytime sculptors sculpt in a little bit of a wave or a little swoop of fabric, it really gives a sense of motion. And just that little bit of the necklace, it's not just hanging straight down, it's got a little motion to it. So it gives the sense that he just stood up on this tree and is lunging forward. So it's a really nice little touch. While we're here, let's put the metal claws in. So these come out as they're magnetized. Here and here. And I really like painting for this client. But he gives me pretty much creative freedom, which makes a lot more fun. And I do my best work when I'm doing that, you know. The 2 or 3 clients I paint for basically kind of just let me do my thing, and they get the best work from me because it's a lot of fun. So there's that portrait, and the other one is going to be him smoking again with the cigar. I like the cigar. It's just it fits him, his attitude. But the sculpt on this is really, really good. It's a small piece. It doesn't take up a big footprint. Yeah, so sometimes the smaller ones take longer than the big ones. It all depends on how many heads there are and all the details. So that just looks really, really sharp. But you can see all the sweat coming down. I'll see if I can come down a little further. Oh, and then there's another helmet to display. The third helmet, I just painted solid green with the same graffiti on it. And basically everywhere I've seen, they just kind of put it right here. It just kind of hangs on that little thing. So if you're displaying it with a portrait without the helmet, there's nowhere to lay it on here really without it rolling around. And the straps are pretty fragile. I'm surprised I haven't broken anything on this thing. Knock on wood, I don't do that. You can see the dirt and grime I added to the pants here. Because when I started yesterday, he was really clean. Like the shirt was like super bright white and clean, and it just needed all that dirt and grime. You can see all the sweat I put on there. It looks great. And with the fresh blood, he looks like he's been through it. So fun piece to do. Took a little bit longer than anticipated, but I think he looks great. And then he's got his. I'm going to put him to the side, and we'll look at his wolf companion, which I painted yesterday. And the wolf didn't take as long as I thought he would. I kept him a little bit on the darker side. If you kind of look at photos of wolves, or as any animal, there's infinite combinations of colors and patterns in their fur. Just get him a little bit on the darker side since he's a secondary thing. But I'm just trying to kind of replicate. Let me see if I can bring this exposure up just a little bit. Right about there. So I think he turned out pretty good. Again, we did snow on the base. I may knock his face is a little shiny. I may hit that with a little flat coat. So he's got a nice snarl. So I did, kind of red gums. His eyes turned out actually hand painted his eyes. Actually turned out pretty decent. I suck at painting eyes, but I'm pretty happy with those. So they're just yellow. I put a couple little bright white highlights in there. And the pupil, but his head's a little shiny right now. I'm noticing that. There's the snow effects on his paws, up to his legs, just a little bit like he's been walking through the snow. And in the back, there's just some rocks. I did some yellow tones and some green tones just to kind of separate those a little bit. He is glued to the base, so he's one piece, but he's hollow, and the base is printed hollow. But I did fill this base with resin, so it's solid now, just to give it some stability. But I think they paired it really nicely together. I think initially my client said he wasn't going to display it with the wolf, but I think he needs it, man. I think it just looks really good. Really good together. So, you put him forward, and then he's just kind of he kind of wraps around the back like this. And it doesn't take up a ton of room, even with the wolf in there. That's a great display right there. I mean, come on. So there you go. Quick little video on this last piece. I'm really happy with how it turned out. I'm going to take photos of this today. So stay tuned at the end for a slideshow. And thanks for watching. Catch you guys next time.